Welcome to Cash in the Cyber Sheets. I'm your host, James Bowers, and together we'll work with business leaders and industry experts to dive into the misunderstood business of cybersecurity and compliance to learn how to start making money from being secure and compliant. Welcome to Cash in the Cyber Sheets. Hey everybody, welcome back to Cash in the Cyber Sheets. I'm James Bowers, Chief Security and Compliance Officer here at Input Output. And today, it's been a little while, but we've got Bryan Barnhart with Infiltration Labs. Haven't had you on in a while. I almost forgot your last name. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Pretty unscripted episode. Threw a few topics out, things I'm seeing I wanted to dive into. We talked a little bit about it, we'll get into, but I kind of wanted to scratch on different things you're seeing in court around with the type of cases you do, with just really anything you're seeing in court. I'm curious as far as how some of the stuff is transcribing and how that might blow up in people's faces, if you even see anything like that. And we talked a little bit about some of the AI stuff. I don't know if we'll actually get into that. We talked about it on a previous podcast, but then also what holds people up with doing anything like a compliance program, a incident response. And I think where I'm really interested in hearing is definitely there's the people that I think myself and a lot of listeners, a lot of MSPs deal with, like the teenagers. That's never going to happen to me. But you're dealing with people, like every person you deal with, it just literally happened to you. No, I don't want to do it. So I don't know if that never strikes twice. We're fine. We got ours out of the way, what it is. But those are the general topics. And click that like, click that subscribe, leave us some comments, leave us some love. If we get 100 likes and 100 subscribers, Bryan will actually help create us a fireman style poster calendar. So
sweet, that's gonna be hot.
We'll have some of our other MSP and IT colleagues on there. It'll be steamy. All right, Bryan, good to have you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
So yeah, where do you want to start? The court thing, what's holding people up, any of the AI topics. Like I said, I don't think it's not gonna be earth shattering. We're not gonna solve
the world's problems today. Yeah. So we can start with the if you want, we can talk about the court. When you asked me, what is it that I typically see in court, and then kind of the direction that I went is like how is opposing counsel making their cases, right? Like what is it that they're beating up on? Mm-hmm. Right, and I'll go just from my limited perspective in the cases that I've had is, and I guess to start with, a lot of the cases that I've been to court for and or been the what would you call it, the opposing expert, right? So not every case have I been to court on. Some of them it's just I'm writing either an expert report or writing a declaration, essentially, right? But with that being said, the vast majority of those cases are usually what I call dead box forensics related, right? So some sort of litigation, right? A contract, an employee left and they think they took information, something along those lines. There's only been a handful of cases where it had something to do with some sort of intrusion or insider threat or something along those lines. I would say right out of the gate, do you want me to just jump right into it, James? Like just my opinions on things? So right out of the gate, just off the top of my head and going through some casework, I would say the biggest thing that either opposing counsel or our side have pointed out is spoliation, right? Or lack of proper evidence preservation. From my perspective, that is probably the biggest fail in the vast majority of cases involving electronic evidence.
Now,
right. To be fair, that applies across the board, not just court cases, but specifically we're talking about court cases, right? Or cases that go to trial.
Yeah. Before going on from that, so is that a situation where that's getting them in hot water because they didn't preserve the data correctly, or just that we can't really make any case here, or there's nothing to talk about because you don't have any evidence for us to review? There's nothing here.
So I'm not an attorney, so I can't give the legal side of things. But again, from my perspective, I would have to put that disclaimer out there. But it could result. So to answer your question, does it result in, if there's no evidence there, obviously that's a problem. But there have been, and I'm thinking of an email compromise in particular, where I was not investigating the compromised side, right? I was on the side of the victim. From the email headers, it was very clear that the malicious email legitimately came from the other party. They never preserved any of the logs. They didn't have the proper logging enabled, right? And of course, this is an Office 365 environment. So by the time the right attorneys got involved and asked for those logs were no longer available. You would think that not having that evidence would have actually played in favor of the actual compromised party, but it didn't, right? Instead, there was, and I don't know if I'm using the right term, like a default judgment, where based off of my findings, right, where I was able to prove that, well, this email, based on the headers, it really did come from email account, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whether it be a bad guy, somebody had access to that email and sent this malicious email. And then there was also some comments in their communications, or in their defense. They basically said, I never sent this email, right? So this email that the victim received, he must have got it from some bad guy, some random bad guy, because it didn't come from me. But obviously from the analysis on the victim side, we can show that it did actually come from his account, from an Office 365 environment.
So how'd that play for the person you were representing? Was that a default judgment in their favor or against them?
Yes.
That they, okay.
Yeah, so in favor of the victim.
In favor of
the other side ended up settling.
And that was because there was no evidence to be able to support anything else. I mean, there was nothing else to investigate. What you saw is this came from them, and kind of case closed.
Yeah. So it was, I don't want to say weak evidence, but we had limited evidence, right? All we could really prove was that the malicious email did come from party A. They didn't have any evidence to refute that, right? They didn't have enough logs to say we didn't send it, right? So it was kind of loose, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that, I mean, I can't say, all we can say is that it conclusively came from
this is where
that
it came
email
from.
account. It legitimately came from that email account. It was legitimate.
Yeah. In the case, I mean, I guess that's probably where it stops. It didn't get brought up, or did it, about like data retention requirements or?
Oh, absolutely. For sure.
Okay. So were they looking at also for the, not your victim, for the company involved? Who's that, the plaintiff or the defendant?
Defendant, yeah.
The defendant, not a lawyer. We don't give legal advice, really. For the defendant, it got called into question basically about their policies and procedures. Hey, what is your SOP for how long you retain things? And are you doing that?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that was part of my expert opinion was on where were the fails, right? And to be fair, there were fails on the victim side too.
Yeah.
Right. Like there was no double authentication process going on, right, with sending wires and whatnot. So there was a little bit of responsibility on that side. But on the compromised party side, the defendant side, there was just a lot of things, right? They had no email security in place. They didn't have any sort of logging and retention outside of Microsoft's default, which is nil, right, or very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so I wrote all that up, because the Florida bar has very strict not regulations. What's the word I'm looking for?
Well,
not policies, but
it's vague right now. They're talking about making it more strict, aren't they? As far as that you need to protect client information, you need to protect sensitive information, but there's no like hard and fast. You need to do it like to NIST or to this standard or to anything else. It's just hey, secure it as best you can.
You need whatever that means. Screwing up the wording, but it's something along the lines of you need to take the proper steps to secure it to the best of your ability, or so. It's very vague. Yeah, very vague.
So I guess where that comes in and where I'm really concerned about is that's where I think the policies, the procedures, the structure up front really comes into play, because I mean that they probably would have still lost the case, but the defendant lost the case because they didn't have any type of structure. They didn't have any policies. And honestly, had that probably gone on, and I don't know if you've seen this in other cases, even if they had some of the data, even really pushing into, well, what's your retention policy say? Well, it says over here, you're supposed to retain this for 7 years. You only had this for 6 months. So you're not following your policy. And maybe this was, did you guys do this on purpose to try to destruction of evidence, for your case? I mean, that's where my concern is, and where I've kind of seen things with insurance companies and with other situations, that all of this stuff just starts cropping up, where you put these policies, procedures in place, or maybe you didn't, so that's a hit, or you did put them in place, but you didn't follow them, so that's a hit. Like, it's getting farther and farther away from just a checkbox exercise.
Yeah, here's you brought up a good point, or you mentioned something that I've come across twice. Clear my throat. That I've come across twice that I thought was kind of an interesting conundrum. It's really not, but we'll call it that, where there is a court order to, and I'm screwing up the wording now. Now I can't think of how it's worded, but basically to preserve data. What was the second part?
Discovery.
Yes, but basically they're told, like, you're not allowed to make any changes to this device.
Legal hold.
Right. Like, yeah, there you go. A legal hold. You now cannot make any changes. In one case, it was a mobile device. So he didn't make any changes to it. He had his text messages configured to automatically delete text messages after 30 days. So it looked, right? So the opposing digital forensic experts, when they wrote their report, they made it sound more ominous and more malicious. They wrote it up that he deleted thousands and thousands of text messages from the date of the legal hold until X date. And then when I went in there and did my review, I discovered that, well, no, it wasn't a user action. It was already configured to automatically delete text messages every 30 days. You could argue that both ways, obviously, right? Like, from a common sense perspective, it would seem, okay, if you were told it's a legal hold, preserve, and this goes into my second step, or actually part of what I've written down here is spoliation and lack of proper preservation. This is probably the biggest thing that I see, is where you're told, right? They're given a legal hold and told you now need to preserve this evidence. And in a lot of cases, what businesses do is, or even the attorneys for that matter, is they just say, don't touch anything, don't leave it alone. And the problem with that, as you know, is computers are constantly churning through data, right? Data gets overwritten, right? New files are created, files are cleaned up, right? In the case of the mobile phone, some things are automatically deleted. So when there's a preservation order or some sort of a legal hold, that's why I tell attorneys it's really important. Get a digital forensics expert on board early on. Even if you don't think you need them, have one on retainer, right? Or at least, like in my case, give me a call, tell me what you've got. right? And to be fair, there's a lot of times that I tell them, I don't think you need me, right? Here's what you need, right? But here are the steps to take. But like in cases like this, my first guidance would go, right? You need to have somebody, whether it be me or another digital forensics firm, create images of those hard drives, right? Or image that phone or preserve that email, whatever it is, you truly need to take data preservation steps. I guess to reword that, you need to take forensic data preservation steps. Right? Not touching the computer is not it. Not touching the mobile phone is not it.
That's really interesting because we've actually we talked to a lot of clients, and one of the things is on the email side, setting it up to support e-discovery, legal holds, being able to lock it down. Some of them have 10 years worth of auto archive retention just to support that. So it's real easy to lock down there. But then you've got BYOD, bring your own devices. People are using their own cell phones, and they're using their own text messaging. And we're actually going through this with a client right now, looking at getting rid of all the BYOD because some of the issues with the AI just overreaching into everything.
Yeah.
And not being able to put rails on that, but never thought about it from the perspective of, okay, I'm not going to make any changes on my cell phone, but I've got a legal hold order. Yeah, we've got to go through and do forensic images of everything. That's really interesting. And probably not here, but I imagine that could be a lot of hot water. Definitely lose your case if you're messing with this stuff, contempt of court, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Legal terms I hear on Suits and Law and Order, throwing those out.
Yeah, no, it could absolutely be problematic.
Let's move over to what's holding people up. And here's the perspective of it is, I guess this is kind of a sales question, age-old thing, maybe not enough trust or whatever, but it seems like I'll step back from when I'm working to make a sale to somebody to help them with their security compliance, when IT partners are, I think there's definitely a thing of, you're trying to sell me a service. I haven't made a connection that I really need this, or I don't really understand information security and compliance. Like, I've got a big hump to get through to where nobody's going to the security and compliance store. Nobody's thinking about that at night. They don't even know it's an issue. Nobody's heard, most people in Florida, they never heard of FIPA or of what do I need to do with PCI? Like they have no idea of it. So I've first got to educate, then create the need, and then convince them that I'm the right person to fill it. That's a lot of steps.
It is. That's an uphill battle.
In your case, your house just burned down. I can sell you, well, I guess that'd be insurance. I can sell you homeowners insurance, or you just got a data breach. I can help prevent that from happening. I can help make that less of an issue. This was such a mess because you didn't have an incident response plan. Let me help you build an incident response plan. And you would think that people would be, oh my God, absolutely, make it happen. But no, you're shaking your head. They say, no, we don't need that. We're okay. Let us think about it.
I don't want to say a vast majority, a lot of calls that I get on with organizations that have been hit with ransomware, their only request a lot of times is, can you help us get the data back? Right. And in some cases, that's negotiating with the threat actor, right? We are willing to pay. It's from my perspective, it's very frustrating to hear companies that had no money to invest in the bare minimum of cybersecurity, but now you've got a threat actor who's asking for, well, they're usually asking for a lot more, but you've got organizations that without blinking an eye are giving me the go ahead for anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000 to pay them, right? That's what they're telling me. If we can get this wrapped up in the next day or two, Here's what we are authorizing you to offer them, which is mind-boggling. Because a lot of times I had to jump through a lot of hoops just to get a couple of $1,000s in order to get this engagement.
Mm-hmm.
But where I was going with that is a lot of these, and I'm not sure why this is becoming more common lately, but I'm getting calls for ransomware negotiation, but they don't want any digital forensics done, which seems very contradictory, right? Like that seems odd, right? Because you almost in every case, after the fact, after they've recovered their data, the follow-up question is, okay, can you make sure
are they still in there?
Are we safe now? Are we secure? I'm like, well, I don't know. We never collected any forensic, right? You didn't engage me to do any sort of forensics. So I don't know. We didn't collect indicators of compromise. I don't know. Could they still be in your system? Probably.
Yeah.
Right? I would say there's a good chance that they are. That executable that they sent you to decrypt files, I'm pretty sure it's
so
not good.
Digging into that there, that's a thing that, I mean, you get it at least a fair amount of the time where they don't want to do anything else. We paid the ransom. We're done. Mm-hmm. We just want to get this finished. We're done. Thank you very much. Not let's get it cleaned up. Not let's figure out how to prevent this in the future. Not let's just move on. And that right there, I don't understand where the headspace is.
Yeah.
Like as far as the focus.
I thought maybe I'm just a terrible salesman when it comes to that stuff, because I can count on one hand and have a number of fingers left over of clients that have engaged me for that kind of thing, to include forensics, with the intention of, hey, we really want to put some proactive things in place, right? Like we don't want this to happen again. But it seems like with most things, with grief, as time lapses, it gets less and less important.
Well,
right. Meaning they end up doing nothing. Right. So I've had some repeat customers. And when I do that analysis, I discover, so we really didn't, right, other than changing some passwords and right, updating some of your password policies, we really didn't do anything else.
Yeah.
Right. So in that case, trauma did not teach.
I mean, I've heard studies that attractive people have easier times of things, especially in sales. So I don't want to rule that out. Maybe what we do is we get like a panel of, some attractive forensics experts as well, and see what their experience has been. It may be completely different. They may say, like, people are calling me up all the time. They haven't had a data breach, but they just want me to do, forensic reviews for them.
Hey, we saw your picture on the website, and
yeah,
want to give you money for something.
Yeah, is there stuff under my desk?
What is it you do?
You come check it.
What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Here's our credit card. Just take it. Is that okay?
Charge me for something. I'm not sure what, but charge me for something.
Yeah.
What is on a Zoom call?
I don't have that happen either. That never happens. But it's really crazy that even I think we have a similar situation where people will have issues with regulators that we need to get this taken care of, or it's a hard and fast requirement. If you do not do this, you're going to have a regulatory issue, or this is going to hold up product, or this may, prevent an investment. And it's just, let's see what we can do, or all right, send us something so that we can check this box. And
so look at it like speeding. Look at it like, so I always try to dumb it down to like physical world. Maybe a terrible analogy, I don't know, but I look at it like speeding and running red lights and running stop signs. There's a lot of people that do it, and if you try to tell them it's dangerous, they'd go, do it all the time, right? I speed, I weave in and out. I've never had an issue until they do, right? Then they have that accident. And for some people, that changes their mind, and they go, hey, you know what? That was pretty dumb, right? Like that was absolutely avoidable. But for some people, it does not, right? They'll continue. They'll get through that incident and continue. And I feel like that's the same thing in the digital world. You have people that look at it like, do I really need to be compliant? Yeah. I mean, is it So if I get compromised, isn't that what cyber insurance is for?
Yeah. Aren't they going to take care of it?
Yeah.
Oh, they might not. Well, we've got reserves. I mean,
we can bounce back.
I would say with the speeding thing and stuff, that's fun. Maybe not running red lights, but going faster is typically more enjoyable than not going faster. Or I'm running late because I didn't plan well. But, I think that is a good correlation because not spending money is also fun. Not working on compliance and forensics is also fun. To be honest, this is not a sexy side of the business.
No, yeah, I get it.
So, but it's wild how much of an impact it has. And even when people have the impact, where that stall is, what the conversation is, or how to have that conversation to interject into their head that they're having. I don't know what that answer is. The fear, uncertainty, and doubt works maybe 30% of the time. And I don't even like leading from there. We even focus a lot more on, hey, here's how we can improve the business. But even talking about how you can get more leads, better conversion, better lifetime, more profits, a lot of companies are, almost that I've got what it is I'm going to focus on for today.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like this is what I was planning to focus on today. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, it's neither do I. Right. But to piggyback off of the speeding thing, like as you were describing that, it popped in my head. So it would be like speeding. And then a compliance person like yourself comes along and tells them like, hey, just so you know, like speeding is not good. Right. Obviously you can, right. There could be an incident, or maybe there was an incident, right? They got a ticket and that's why you're there, right? You're the advisor and explaining to them like, well, yeah, you got the ticket and it was expensive and you had to hire me to defend you because you're speeding. But I also noticed you weren't wearing your seatbelt. Just so you know, if that speeding had resulted in not just getting pulled over, but an accident, this could have been a lot worse.
Or there's no bottle in the back.
There's what? Yeah, or no
bottle in the back.
Right, but like you have some people that will go, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. That's right. But I would say, again, from my perspective, the vast majority go, hey, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna.
What do you need to close this up?
It's uncomfortable. I don't like the way it feels right here. Like, all right, well, I don't like the way glass feels right here.
Yeah.
The windshield pushing in my face, but
everybody's got a different risk acceptance. I get it. I don't ride a motorcycle because I've got young kids and other people I see even in our neighborhood ride motorcycles in their bathing suits. It's a completely different side of the spectrum of how much risk. But some of it just seems like no-brainers. With what's going on there, it's interesting. I would like to end it with asking for some comments for, especially if you're an IT provider, if you're a good-looking forensics expert, what your experience has been in and out of the courtroom, and also what you're seeing with clients. Where are you running up to the walls? So leave those comments. We'd love to continue talking about that. I think next time I want to get into some of the AI stuff because it's obviously in everything. I mean, even
not going anywhere.
No, even coffee makers are getting AI, and it's whole Internet of Things, every single device. It's scraping all of the data, and now it's just almost like you've said, toxic sludge, sensitive data everywhere, and it's just exponentially multiplying. And with the changes that Meta's making to now scan your whole phone to be able to give story suggestions, it's taken it to another level. So
crazy.
That's making it impossible on our side to manage. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, but we are out of time for today. So Bryan, thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you again.
It's great having you. And everybody, until next time.
Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget, click that subscribe button, leave us a review, and share it with your network. Remember, security and compliance aren't just about avoiding risk. They're about unlocking your business's full potential. So stay secure, stay compliant, and we'll catch you next week on Cash in the Cyber Sheets. Goodbye for now.
Life goes up and it goes down. goes up